Welcome, friends. Today we have a kind of fun video that I've been wanting to do for a while. If you guys enjoy this kind of video, I would love to do more of them for the characters we have. It's just something that was kind of a little PP for me, a little passion project. And that's, Darth Bane. Darth Bane's coming to the game. I'm excited for it. But I've gotten a couple people who asked me, who is Darth Bane, and so I thought I'd make, like the old Who's Who books, the little books you could get for, kids for episode 1. I thought those were so cool as a kid, and I'd read them all the time. I thought I'd make something similar as a series, hopefully, if you guys enjoy it. And so we want to talk about Darth Bane. And so there's going to be kind of three parts to these videos if we make more than just this one. Honestly, I might make more just because I enjoy making them. But the first part is going to be the non-canon appearances. Second part's going to be the canon appearances. And then the third and final part is going to be his kit and how it kind of is influenced by the canon. Because Capital Games is really good about that and does some really cool things. If you want an example of this, if you've ever played Knights of the Old Republic, go take a look at Jolie Bindo's kit and the names of the kit, and it is just the funniest thing. It is my favorite character for flavor-wise. So Darth Bane is who we want to talk about, who's an interesting character because he's never shown up on screen except for a brief appearance in Clone Wars. And so it's kind of a new character for us to see in, any kind of video game format or anything like that. In the old canon, you can tell that, Darth Bane here looks a little different. There's definitely some design choices that are very different. The staff saber is kind of interesting. He used a hooked-handled lightsaber, kind of like Dooku. He didn't wear armor like that at all. So just kind of some interesting style changes. But during his time in the old canon, the thing that we all know him for was creating the rule of 2. And so I'll get into a little bit about what that means in a sec, but first I need to set the stage. So at this point, the Jedi have spent thousands of years trying to eradicate any trace of the Sith after Revan and Malak. Raiding crypts, destroying temples, collecting holocrons, and so just trying to eradicate just the history of the Sith. They weren't completely eradicated, and so the Sith lines kind of kept going, but they were kind of in hiding since, last, couple wars, basically, because there was the events of Knights of the Old Republic, and then there was the Old Republic, where it was a full-on war, and then they start to band together under a man named Lord Khan, and he makes the Brotherhood of Darkness, a force to threaten the Republic and the Jedi, and he basically makes a pact with the Sith to create this Brotherhood of Darkness, saying all of us masters are equals, so that way there's no infighting, and we'll work together to defeat the Jedi. On the other side, during this time, the Republic and the Jedi are kind of just, fighting. Republic's fighting hard. At this time, the Jedi aren't really sanctioned by the Republic. And so the Jedi don't have to help. And finally, one Jedi gets sick of it and bands together with some Jedi named the Army of Light to fight the Brotherhood of Darkness. So very poetic in their fight, obviously. So General Hoth is the one that's leading the Army of Light. And so this is kind of going on in the background during the story of Bane, because Bane did not, grow up to be a Sith. It wasn't like he was taken as, a child or anything like that. He was a grown man when he first interacted with the Sith. He actually grew up on a small mining world called Apatros, which was owned by Zerka Corporation, and it's just, all mines and that kind of thing. And his father, an alcoholic, basically would beat him his entire life, get drunk, beat him, take out his anger on him, eventually died in his sleep, and left Bane, who, didn't grow up being named Bane, but rather Dessel, took over the debts of his father. So Zerka Corporation heaped them on him, and so he had to pay him off when there was no real way to pay them off. After getting into some trouble, he ended up having to escape his debts, and so he did the only thing he really could do in the situation, which was join the Sith army. During his time among the Sith army, he started to manifest his powers more. Previously, it just kind of been a sixth sense that helped him in some stressful situations. At this point, he started to trust it more. His power started to develop, and it started allowing him to lead his men to safety and help out the fellow men in his platoon. And so he very quickly rose to become a natural leader among them. And as he used his abilities to kind of get an edge on the battlefield, Sith actually recognized his potential and took him to Korriban to begin his training as a Sith at the Sith Academy there. As he started his studies, there was a lot of different things for him to understand, but he very quickly grew to understand the general ideas of the Sith and ideals of the Sith. And he learned from the masters themselves. He started studying what scraps of records the Sith had at the time, which wasn't much, mostly like legends and that type of thing. Holocrons and direct teachings were completely destroyed by the Jedi, and so the Sith really didn't have access to many of them. They had an extensive library of, different legends and stories that they had found during their individual travels as Sith before they became the Brotherhood of Darkness and compiled it into a library. And so most people just ignored this, but he was fascinated by the history of the Sith and reading these legends. And as he read them, he started to see a disconnect, a separation between what the masters were teaching and what the old masters did and what they represented and what they taught. Not sure what he was looking for, he started to search for answers. Questions were bothering him. Like, why don't the Sith know the old masters? Why does no one hold the Darth title? All of them just go by Lord and then their name. Against the wishes of his masters, he left to search for answers as they made ready for war. During his travels, he found almost nothing for a long time. Just, empty crypts, wasted temples, just everything destroyed by the Jedi. They were very thorough in their destroying of anything Sith related. But on a forgotten world, he finds a holocron of an ancient Sith Lord. And one of the major lessons he takes from it is that any master who takes on more than one apprentice is a fool. Inevitably, the apprentices will band together to kill their master, perverting the rightful way of succession and making multiple weaker Sith take the place of one more powerful. Pondering this, he realizes the Sith have become a twisted reflection of the Jedi and are trying to win as the Sith always have, with numbers and matching the Jedi play for play. To defeat the Jedi, they must use their natural weapons of deception, assassination, and manipulation, the ways of the dark side, in essence. During this time, pondering this, he creates the rule of 2. There will only be 2 Sith, is the general idea. One to embody power, the other to crave it. When the apprentice becomes strong enough, he will kill the master and take on his own, making a pure line of Sith that continually grow in power. This line and their machinations are what sets up and culminates in Palpatine's plan and Order 66. Bane spent the rest of his life rediscovering secrets of the Sith and finding ways to sabotage both the Sith and the Jedi till he and his apprentice were all that remained of the Sith. So if you want to read about this story yourself, I 100% can. I 100% suggest it. It's one of my favorite Star Wars series I've ever read. It's written by one of the guys who wrote the story to Knights of the Old Republic. Super good book, especially if you like lightsaber combat. The way it's described is phenomenal in this book. Love the Darth Bane trilogy. The first one is called Path of Destruction. This left side image is the front of the book. Definitely something I'd take a look at if you're interested in old canon books. Fantastic book series. I've tried to stay fairly spoiler free during this with just kind of general information, so there's still a ton in the book that I have not talked about that's just really cool, and so feel free to go read that book. It's really great. But then as for new canon appearances, since Disney took over, since this is now considered Legends, we don't really see this anymore as a part of the canon. We now have just the singular appearance of Darth Bane in canon that I know of. And that's in Clone Wars. This is the only appearance we've ever had on screen for him. And it's during season 6 of Clone Wars, episode 11, about 3/4 of the way, 2/3 of the way into the episode, if you want to go watch it for yourself. So in the new canon, he actually was born on Moraband, which, for those of you who don't know, Moraband is the name of Korriban from the old canon. It's, just George Lucas's way of going, hey, I like this better, you're gonna change it. And so it's like the exact same kind of planet, it's just, we wanted to change the name. So in this version with the new canon, a lot of it is very similar to the story of the old canon. The overall plot of him being, there during the Brotherhood of Darkness, surviving, making the Rule of Two, and starting the Grand Plan, leads up to Order 66. All of that is all part of the canon. Really the only part that's different is the whole born on Moraband, and then, the little details, obviously. And so we'll see how much of those little details come out in future canon appearances. But that's kind of what he is in this current timeline. And you can see where that leads kind of to our Darth Bane we know and love in the game. And I think there's a lot of cool parallels both in old canon and new canon with this character. And I think there's also some references to some other games and other ideas. So we'll bring you over to his kit real quick. So we have Darth Bane's kit here. And, obviously they have to bow to what Disney wants for this character. So, we're not getting much of the old Darth Bane, but I think Capital Games has always been good about kind of giving you that hint of the characters that we love, even from the old canon. And so we'll jump into the kit. We're not going to jump straight in where I'm reading through the entire kit, but obviously we're going to have some lightsaber-esque things because he was very proficient with a lightsaber in the old books. It was a big part of him being at the Sith Academy, was him learning how to use the lightsaber. So 100% makes sense to have abilities that focus on the lightsaber. Although the staff saber is a little different, it still shows his, lightsaber prowess. So of course we have dealing damage to everyone. This one's kind of interesting to me because I don't really have a good place that I can pull from doing this kind of thing in old canon or new canon where it's sucking from life force. But it almost reminds me of this right here where, kind of like the drain life ability from Malik or the staff of Mark Aragnos from the Jedi Knight Jedi Academy games where it's sucking the life out of a place, or rather the force out of a place. This is a very common thing among Sith in general. You see it with Sith Eternals kit. You can even see it in the old Clone Wars game, siphoning force from different places using some kind of artifact or anything like that. So it seems pretty on point for most Sith in general for the whole siphon ability. And then we get into the fun ones. Now this is a lot of text and I'm not going to read through it whatsoever. But, obviously with the leader Zeta, the leader is all about killing off the other Sith to make himself stronger. And I think there's a direct parallel with this 100% with the books. In one of the books, he does a Sith ritual with some other Sith where they basically pool all their force together and are able to summon an entire lightning storm to raise a forest. And so as they're doing this, they're able to pull off a lot more with their power. But then afterwards, one of the Sith described it as Bane having his teeth at their throat and sucking their abilities from them.
So they're either pulling from that or simply just him killing off the other Sith to become the only Sith.
And only the strong survive definitely feels like a pull from the quote, "Those who beg for mercy are too weak to deserve it," which is a quote that's oft brought up in his life. And then obviously his rule of two ability is, you know, very, very on point with the whole rule of two. So the idea is that he and an apprentice are there, and then as soon as he dies, the apprentice gains more power and is, you know, the more powerful of the two. And so very on point for what we've talked about for this character in general. And like, I don't know, the flavor is always great when Capital Games does things. Like they might be iffy in other realms, but their flavor is just fantastic. But yeah, overall I am really excited for this character. I think, you know, overall I think it's interesting what they're doing. There's some things that are mildly upsetting just because of canon changes, but that's just me being me. But I am so excited for this character to come to the game. And hopefully that kind of gets you guys an idea of who he is and hype for him coming, being this Lord of the Sith and this person who started the entire line leading up to Palpatine. And I'm hoping for a lot of fun with Sith Eternal because of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this kind of video, please hit that like button. Please throw a comment. Let me know what you think of Darth Bane and his kit. I'd love to hear it. And also it helps me know that you guys like this kind of video, and I'll make more. I'd love to hear what you guys think of doing other characters that you're just unsure of, that you're just like, I don't know much about, you know, Mara Jade, or I don't know much about Starkiller. I mean, that one's a lot of people do, but I'd love to hear what you guys would love to know more about. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.